The bright studio lights of MSNBC's Morning Joe flickered to life at precisely 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, just as the coffee mugs hit the desk and producers signaled for the live feed to roll. Joe Scarborough leaned back in his chair, wearing his usual smirk, the one that said he was ready to spar, ready to provoke, and most of all, ready to score a political headline before breakfast. "Good morning, America," Joe began, his voice laced with that confident arrogance that had become his trademark. "Today, we've got something special. Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana joins us. You know, the man who never misses an opportunity to turn a folksy phrase into political theater." Mika Brzezinski gave a polite smile beside him, shuffling her papers. She knew Joe's mood when he started with that tone. He was spoiling for a fight. Senator John Kennedy appeared on the split screen, sitting in his office with the Louisiana flag behind him, his tie slightly loosened and his expression calm, almost amused. He greeted them with his signature Southern charm. "Well, good mornin', Joe. Well, it's always a pleasure to be here. I sure do hope y'all had your coffee because I've got mine, and I'm ready for a lively chat." Joe chuckled, pretending warmth. "Oh, we'll make sure it's lively, Senator. Let's start with the obvious, your recent comments about the administration's economic policy. You said, and I quote, 'The White House couldn't balance a checkbook with training wheels.' That's quite the accusation. Don't you think you're being unfair?" Kennedy took a slow sip of coffee. "Joe, I've learned that sometimes the truth sounds unfair when you're not used to hearing it." The control room erupted in muffled laughter, but Joe didn't flinch. He leaned forward. "So, you're saying the president's policies are that bad?" Kennedy raised an eyebrow. "No, Joe, I'm saying they're worse. This administration spends money like a frat boy with his daddy's credit card. You can't keep maxing out the national debt and call it investment. That's like burning your house down and calling it home improvement." Mika tried to interject, but Senator Kennedy held up a hand, polite but firm. "Mika, I appreciate your interruption, but let me finish. The average American's grocery bill has gone up, rent's higher, gas prices are through the roof, and the White House keeps telling us everything's fine. If this is fine, I'd hate to see what they call a crisis." Joe smirked. "That's a nice soundbite, Senator, but you and your party have done plenty of spending yourselves. Weren't you all about handing out corporate tax cuts?" Kennedy's eyes narrowed slightly. "Oh, Joe, bless your heart. You're trying so hard to make that stick. But see, the difference is we tried to make the economy grow. This administration's trying to make it glow from all the money they're burning." The control room loved it. Kennedy's one-liners were pure gold for clips and memes. But Joe wasn't done. "All right, let's move on to your comments about the media. You said in a recent speech that most journalists wouldn't recognize objectivity if it bit them on the ankle. You're saying we're not objective, Senator?" Kennedy leaned back, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Well, Joe, I'll put it this way. I think some journalists are about as objective as a catfish at a sushi convention. You all don't report the news anymore. You curate it, pick what fits your narrative, and toss out the rest." Mika frowned. "That's not fair." Kennedy smiled kindly. "Mika, you seem like a lovely lady, but I've watched y'all's show. When the facts line up with your opinion, they get front row seats. When they don't, they get kicked out of the theater." Joe's smirk faltered for the first time. "That's ridiculous. We criticize both sides." Kennedy chuckled softly. "Oh, sure you do, Joe. Y'all criticize both sides, the right and the far right." The studio went quiet for half a beat before laughter broke out off camera. Mika looked annoyed. Joe's jaw tightened. "You think that kind of insult helps the country? You're turning everything into entertainment." Kennedy's expression softened, and for a moment, the humor vanished. "Joe, the country's tired. People working 2 jobs just to pay bills. Parents worried about their kids' schools. Small towns, loosen businesses. They don't need fancy lectures from TV hosts who think flyover states are just rest stops between New York and La. They need honesty. You can call that entertainment if it helps you sleep better, but I call it telling the truth." The tension in the air thickened. Even Mika stayed silent. "Now," Kennedy continued, his tone slow and deliberate, "let me tell you something, Joe. When politicians lie, people suffer. When journalists lie, democracy suffers. And I think too many in the media forgot that. They treat politics like it's a team sport, Republicans versus Democrats, but the only score that matters is how a merry,